Well, hello everybody, and I'm glad you showed up for the Robot Monster Talk. So I figured that I get a lot of emails. Well, first of all, if you don't know me, if you're tuning in now, I'm Dave Pressler. I'm an artist. I'm an animator. I'm a sculptor of toys. I paint. I draw. I do a little bit of everything. So, anyways, also, if anyone, if I miss your question on the feed, I will definitely try and get to all of them. You can always write me on my website, davepresslerart.com. And you know what I'm going to do? Because I want to be able to read what you guys are saying. I'm going to go like this. I usually like the horizontal. What if we do that? Now I can read what people are saying. Let's see. So first of all, Robot Monster, of all the shows I've done, it's the one I get the most emails about. Comments. I've noticed there's a lot of cool groups in Facebook and in Instagram of fan sites, and I'm always excited that even though the show was short-lived, that a lot of people really loved it and really resonated with people, which and the show is your life and soul. Yeah. It was mine too, Basically, it still excited people's imaginations, and even though it wasn't on long, the other thing about it is that I felt it turned out, let me just say, like 150% better than I ever thought it could. Being that it was something that I had kind of been tinkering with the idea, and then to get the opportunity, and then to turn it into a show, which is something beyond my wildest dreams at the time. But we ultimately did it. So let me tell you a little bit. So what we'll do today is we'll do a thing where I'll talk a little bit. Then I pulled out some original art from the show that I'll show everyone. And then I have not one, but two surprises for all of the hardcore Robot Monster fans. At first I thought I had one thing that I was going to show you all that that no one had ever seen before. Like if you weren't on the crew, you never saw this. I found two things that I'm going to show you at the end. So you'll get a chance to see two things that no Robot Monster fans ever saw. So basically, let me go into the way back here of how it all kind of began. So I've been a character designer, and I've been working in kids TV for now about 25 years. But at the time when I first came up with the inklings of Robot Monster, it was probably, I'm going to say, in 2004. I had done several shows. I had my first production design on any show was a show for the Jim Henson Company called Brats of the Lost Nebula. That was my first production design gig, and I sculpted some of the puppets. I went to Toronto and I storyboarded effects shots. I storyboarded with the directors. I got into the set and painted stuff. I mean, we were just kind of very much hands-on. I was in the workshop building some of the sets with some of the crew. So that was my first thing. And that was, puppets and the kind of very early CGI, which if you find that show online, I think it's on Roku. I think you can watch Brats of the Lost Nebula on Roku. But if you look at some of that stuff, it's very early CG. But think about it. That was about 97, 98 when that was being done. So for that level of technology that wasn't quite there yet, I mean, you can't even compare it to what we're doing now, So Brats of the Lost Nebula was my first big gig. Then I art directed and developed a show called The Save-Ems. I don't know if any of you were that young, but in 2002 there was a preschool show on called The Save-Ems. It was on what was that on? Discovery Kids was the channel. And it was really popular all around the world, not very popular in America. Because I say that a lot of the shows I worked on were like soccer, popular everywhere else but America. So that was my career. Then we did a puppet stunt show for Disney XD called Team Smithereen, where we built puppets, and they were a stunt team, and they were really bad at what they did. And we smashed them, we blew them up, we lit them on fire. See if you can find Team Smithereen clips on YouTube. I don't know if there's any place else to see that. But so between those three shows and a lot of development, I got my first taste of animation working on the Savums. And we worked with a Toronto-based animation company. Really loved working it. And that was my first kind of feeling like this is maybe the place for me to land. Oh yeah, you watched the Savums? That's great, because I'm not sure how many people saw it. But we built physical maquettes. We storyboarded. We character design. The only issue is that in the credits of the show, you're not really going to see my name. You're going to see me and Nathan Cabrera. We were the two people who chiefly production designed the entire show. But unfortunately, because of Canadian content laws, they had to demote us to design concepts by, which is really disappointing. It was an old way of doing things. Business that's not really done anymore. But anyways, Savums was cool, but it gave me a taste for animation. So then my thing that I was kicking around in my head was I wanted to do like a robot sitcom. I like what would Seinfeld be if it was like on a weird planet where it was robots and creatures and stuff like that. It was just slice of life comedy, but we did it. So the problem is that my partners at the time didn't really want to do animation, and I did. And so what I did was I just started kind of drawing. I hadn't pitched my own shows. I hadn't done anything like that. So I just started to kind of draw it and make it, kind of like draw, color stuff in Photoshop, figure out the characters. And so I was just kind of collecting this big, pile of work. So if we fast forward to around, I'm going to say 2005, 2006, there was an art show, because I show in galleries, and I used that as a leap off point for a lot of character work, because what I like to do is like, I'm not a writer, but what I do is I kind of make characters come to life by just repeatedly, you paint them, you sculpt them, you really kind of inhabit and figure out what their characters are just by doing them. And so basically, I'm not going to talk much about Rugrats. So I'll say Rugrats is going well. Everyone's going to be happy with it. And I don't know much more than that. So that's all I'm going to say. But I will tell you when I have things I'm allowed to say about it. But what we'll do is let's keep talking about the past. So anyways, I was working, there was a gallery show, and the prompt theme was tortured friendships. So what I did was I had this idea of a robot and a monster that were best friends. And of course, the robot was all business and the monster was all feelings. And so I did this triptych of paintings of robot and the monster. And I really liked those two characters. So then what I did is those paintings sold, and it was exciting to me to do these two characters. Then what I did was in 2007, I did a show with Monkey King Toys on Melrose, and I did a show called the Dave Pressler Toy Explosion. And so that was an excuse for me to take, hey Gary, good to see you. I'm occasionally seeing a name go across here. So if I don't say hi to you, know that you're still my favorite person. So I did a show called the Dave Pressler Toy Explosion. It was very narcissistic. And so what I did was I sculpted all sorts of toys, but I sculpted robot and monster figures, and I sold them there. And so what that did even more to me was it gave me this idea of who they were, because I sculpted them and made these figures. Then what happened was, so this always gets into what I always tell artists who talk about, like, getting into the business, getting their careers going, is you're never going to go wrong making stuff. I say that again and again, because what I did is just kind of pushed forward and made stuff, and like had had like no clear, like, where's this going? What am I going to do with this? Am I going to make this into a show? Just kept making it. So what happened is the Toy Explosion show did well. I took the money from that show, and this is back in, like I said, 2007. So I had to hire a web designer, and I didn't have a website yet. So I hired a web designer, made my first website. So took the money from the show, put it into making a really amazing website where I could have all my art. And that was pivotal because then by the next spring of 2008, Nickelodeon had a new VP of development. That was Burke Rawlings, and his assistant Payal Patel, who was wonderful. They were looking for, look for fresh new artists to see if they want to make shows to get into the studio. They saw my website, they looked at my art. I got an email from them out of the blue. It just said, hey, love your art. Would you like to come in and have a general meeting? Now, so a general meeting just basically is what are you doing? What do you want to do? It's not a promise of any job, but they want to meet you. So it's your chance to kind of show them what you want to do. So luckily, as I said, I had been working on all this stuff in a very diligent manner. And so when the opportunity came to have a meeting and show them what I wanted to do, I was prepared. I had maquettes, I had art, I had all this stuff. And that's why I always tell people, it's like, always work on things, because if you ever get an opportunity to, a gallery wants to see you, an animation studio wants to see what you want to do, whatever, be ready, have fresh ideas and the work, because everyone has ideas in their head, but it's the chasm the size of a Grand Canyon in making those things into a script, characters into drawings or anything like that. So what I did was I went in there and I had a fully fleshed out idea of this robot and monster. Now, I'm not a writer though, so I had a lot of pictures. I had a lot of ideas of how I wanted this thing to go. So the great thing is they were very interested in this. They saw the potential. Burke saw the potential. He had just met with a writing team, Josh Sternan and then Jeff, now Jennifer Ventimiglia, and they basically, I got a pilot they recently did and a script. They came from the world of sitcoms, and they did some animation like The Critic and a couple Simpsons. And when I met with them, we just clicked. It was like comedic immediately. It's like the three of us just clicked. I got them. I love their sense of humor. They got me. And so the first thing I did is I sent them every drawing I have ever made. I sat down for 3 or 4 days, and I typed up any idea I've ever had for the show, and I sent it to them. And then they basically came up with the premise, the pilot, the idea, the Bible, and then we decided that's what we were going to pitch. So we made a pitch, went back to Nickelodeon with the official pitch, and we went forward into development. Yeah, somebody asked this exact question earlier in the week, like, how did I get approached for the show? So that's it. Basically, it was that initial meeting, me talking about what I wanted to do. They had partnered me with two great writers, and then the three of us got along. We came up with an idea that we were in love with, and we pitched it to them, and they loved it too, luckily. So to talk a little bit about how development works, if you're not familiar with the process, is what they usually do is development is a step-by-step process. So what they'll do is first they'll say, we're interested in the show. And so the first thing you do is you just write what's called, you have a pitch Bible. And that has all the information in it. The characters, the basic story, a few storylines, all that stuff. Then if they like that, then you go ahead and you do a real Bible. And that is a more involved Bible where you get into the depth of what is the world? Where is the world? Who are the characters? Who are the extra characters? Who are the outside characters? And then you might do 5 full story premises. So if that goes well, then what they do is pull one of those story premises, then that will be written into a pilot script. So each step along the way, it could get to the point where they're not really. I don't have the Bible, but I have some of the art that I'll show you guys. And if you want to look at animation Bibles, tons online. I mean, the great thing now is the research is so easy. Like if you want to get the structural format for a Bible, you can get them online. So basically, we then, The Dark Knight, if you know all the episodes, The Dark Knight was the pilot episode that we did. And then, so we got more in depth because we had to get an animatic. So it was basically, it wasn't a full-fledged animated show, but it was more like an animatic, which is drawings with some movement. We colorized them, and then we have full dialogue. So, once you get into a pilot, you're going to do a lot of work. And we did a CG test. So basically from there, it's every step of the way. Sam Levine, really cool director. He came in and directed the pilot for us and ended up being a director on the show. And so then it's all the steps that you have to do. Then once you're doing the pilot, you're basically working out the characters, the script's working out, you're getting a storyboard done. You're getting it cut into an animatic. So you're going through all of the paces that you're going to do if you get into a full production of a show. It's a good question. Any particular reason the episodes out of all of them get picked for a pilot? A lot of times what the decisions will be based on is because they're going to test it in front of test groups. And so what it'll be is, it'll be a show that kind of pulls out the essence of the friendship, or what's the essence of, like, if it's a group dynamic, what really introduces us. So it's the first time we're seeing these characters. What story tells the most about them in the least amount of time? How do we learn who they are? Then how can we learn about each of the friends and that dynamic, and maybe a little bit about how the world works. So The Dark Knight seemed to encapsulate all of that with. You had JD and Spitfire, you had Ogo, you had I think that was that the robotic monster? I can't remember. Yeah, that was I can't remember The Dark Knight. Anyways, there was basically, I think it was, anyways, it was kind of a superhero motif. The next question also, is there any differences between the pilot version and the final EP? Yes, because when you're doing the pilot, you don't have to be to network time. You can be a little more loose. Usually when you see a show like SpongeBob, for instance, it's 2 11-minute shows, plus the 11 minutes also has to include time for credits, title cards, all that stuff. So you actually get, I don't know, maybe your final cut's going to be 10 minutes, 51 seconds, whatever they have. So what they'll do is, Howley, that was it, thank you. Howley was the villain in that one. So what they'll do is with the pilot, where they're just testing it, it doesn't have to be cut to time. And also the other thing too is, a lot of times you won't start with that, your pilot, you're going to put it later, because as you figure out the show, once you get into production, you're doing 26 episodes, 56 11-minute stories, you figure out a lot of stuff. Stuff gets discarded, stuff gets, certain characters become, that you find out they're working better. Maybe the actor that's doing the character is really making something out. Like Ogo was a really small character at first, but Jonathan Slavin, who did the funniest, best performances for Ogo, he made us do more with Ogo, because he made Ogo a way more interesting character. So that's something that you can't anticipate. So usually you'll do that later, so that you get stuff figured out. And then you'll cut it for time, you'll cut it for content, you'll speed things up. So basically, I'm reading things now. Maurice LaMarche. Yeah, Maurice LaMarche was Howley. And he was Gart. And he was Perry. And he was... Oh, man. Maurice was the best. He did so many voices for us. Just amazing, Yeah, Jonathan Slavin was the best. Well, the whole cast. I loved the cast. And the great thing is when we were doing the pilot, we got, that's, you have to cast all those people. And sometimes the way you'll do a pilot is, let's say you test the pilot and people are like, oh, we like the main characters, but the voices are weird. So then you might recast for the series. But we kept everybody that we had in the pilot just because they were really good. We switched up JD's voice. We had Megan Hilty come in and do JD, and we had Creed Summer. Creed Summer was always Viper, and she was Glavatha. And Harlan Williams. Harlan Williams is the best. Everything about it. We just had so many. Curtis Armstrong was the best. Just all of them, working together, making the show good. So basically, that's how you start, and then you get into the grind of production, and there's a lot to it. There's a lot to making a show, because it's not just the elements of the show. It's also like, me being the art director of the show as well as executive producer. You're running the design team, you're running the look of the show, and you're just kind of like, that's a whole, making a pitch Bible stand out. There's a whole, that's a whole other thing. we get into that talk. I'm even trying to figure that one out, because I'm still pitching shows. I'm still trying to sell my shows and everything like that. If you go online, there's a few good talks about that very thing. But anyways, there's a lot to doing the show, and then once you get into it, there's a lot of managing people, and there's many aspects to running a good show. And we had a great crew, and if I forget or don't name anyone on the crew during this thing, you're all very special to me. Oh, which director baked the best? Gary did. Gary was the best cookie baker. Gary Conrad, one of our directors, is on. He was fantastic. Chuck Austin, for sure. He was good. We had a lot of great directors. And, it's funny. Darren Nefsey, who did Star on the Forces of Evil, she was a storyboard revisionist for us. Yeah. I mean, we had a lot of people who went to really cool places after Robot and Monster. So I was always proud of the entire Robot and Monster family. It was always makes me feel like when we had interns and now they're like art directors and showrunners. Nothing makes me happier. It's like that's what you want to see. Like I would hope that, in some small way, if I gave them any bit of nurturing, that it helped them get ahead. But basically, there was basically a lot of good people. But I'll tell you what, let's go over here. Let's look at some art. So I'm going to show you guys some art, because basically right now, here, let's see. I'm going to reverse the camera. Now let's see. Let's get the camera adjusted here. So I found I have lots of art from Robot and Monster. But the problem is I just moved last year, and I packed a lot of stuff up kind of semi-permanently. Here we go. All right. So one of the things that I thought might be fun to see is this was a collection of... so one of the first things we did in the pilot is Sam Levine and I got together, and we put together... This is all Sam Levine. So he was kind of figuring out, since he was directing the pilot, we were kind of figuring out where's the motion. And one of the things I always wanted to do for Robot is I said, don't make him stiff. He's not his metalness is pliable. He can squash and stretch and get that great forward motion, but he always was low to the ground. If you notice, it's like with his wheels, with his arms, the whole thing is he's heavy on the bottom. You know, he's heavy. His heart is a little bit heavy, even though he's a good friend and everything else. He's a heavy little guy, as opposed to our friend Monster here. And Monster again, same thing. Since we were building him in CG, we had to kind of set our expectations of what we wanted to do. So we want maybe his mouth to do this kind of an extreme. We want his mouth to be able to be like almost half his body, or his horns to turn upside down, like the sadness just to be. The other thing with Monster too is when you're drawing Monster, a couple things that are really important is the other thing, whereas Robot is very heavy on the bottom, like he kind of weighty, he's light on the bottom. So it's one of these kind of things where you taper something wide at the top, it gives it a lighter, almost to think of like a balloon on a string. You know what I mean? So it's like he just has a lighter thing going on just because of that. And the way he can twist his body and the run. There's Howley. So this was an early drawing. Let's see. I did that in 2008. A lot of the stuff you got to understand. It's like, it takes such a long time to do cartoons, and it's always amusing to me when I see somebody who watches something on TV and goes, "Hey, they're just ripping off X, Y, and Z that came out 3 months ago." And it's like, do you understand that the premise was probably broke 2 years ago, and premise and the story and the script were probably even written maybe 2 years before it even went to animation, and so very hard to keep fresh cartoons. Here is Howley model sheets. Let's see. Well, these aren't model sheets as much. These are just kind of rough expression sheets, we usually call them. Get an idea of size. Get an idea of like how big are they to each other? What kind of movements are we going to get? Let's see. Oh, yeah. This is from the pilot. This is from the show Bible. Whoever was talking about show Bible. JD and Viper. This is the original JD and Viper. And JD is, I remember when I was redrawing her for the show. Basically, I redrew her and I toned down her breasts. And the president of the studio, I sent her the new drawings, and she was like, "What happened to JD's boobs?" Her name was Brown Johnson. She was wonderful. And she goes, "What happened to JD's boobs? I want JD's boobs." I'm like, "I will put them back." So, but the thing is she always was the sexiest, she's the love interest of all the characters. And then Viper is, that's Cree Summer, and she just got that perfect, like, kind of sweet roughness about her, And here we go. Check out this guy. Original Ogo. JD was just always JD. I think a lot of these names came from Ogo was Josh, a friend of Josh and Jeff. That was his nickname. I think JD was somebody else they knew. So a lot of these names were not completely figured out until like I got together with Josh and Jen and got everything figured out. Master grabbed my wrist. I think you remember that. Again, we wanted him to be kind of a wooden robot. And basically, but have all of the abilities to, smash everything else. So this is original. Just expression sheet. Just not expression sheet, but this was just kind of like where I was figuring out like what do the robots of the world look like. So that was 2009. So we were getting stuff figured out for the pilot. And then I think the next one is, what do the monsters look like? What can they do? This was kind of the rough design for Monster's mom, and we never got to bring her into the show or talk about what happened with her. Grab my wrist. Yeah, this is early Perry. Okay, so when I was talking about before that I was doing all this stuff to kind of, this was done, I labeled it 2009, but it's only 2009 because I updated it. I had done this back in 2004, actually. This art was from 2004. When I was just kind of doing a robot world. And so this is kind of the stuff. Yeah, Fuzzy Slippers is in there. He was an original guy. And so this was the stuff I was doing a long time before. And this is the stuff when I went in for my meeting where I was pitching this on the table going like this. It's crazy, crazy monster world, crazy robot world. Let's see what else we got. It's cool. It's a little memory lane for me. Oh, this is what ended up being the final. Rosalina Tuchev was our color stylist, then became our design supervisor, and she did this. This was the matte painting for the pilot of the town. There they are in there. That's okay. So this is my original one. I did this apartment. This is probably back in 2008. But so you can see how, you refine ideas. Like this is my very rough idea and color scheme, and then it gets refined, turned into something a little more, just where we kind of figure out the shapes a little bit more, give it a bit more dimension. I kind of tend to draw very flat. Then, also for the pilot, one other thing you do is you figure out what's the layout? Where's the bedroom's going to be? Where's the stairs going up? What's the back look like? What's the front? So you do all that kind of stuff. We never named their city. And the reason for that was we never named their city because we kind of felt like it was just, there were so many kitschy names for that kind of stuff. So we always kind of made it a joke that we never named their city. And I think in Monster Hit, he says, thanks everybody, city where we live. And I think that was flagged a few times as a stupid joke. And I said, yes, it is. And it makes me laugh. Default Industries. Here's the early version. This is my version. And then this is this version, concept of the factory. Fleshed out a lot more. The blinking light factory. Good night, place where we live. Exactly. This is my kind of concept for the interior, and I wanted to make the factory a more dangerous place with fire and smoke and sparks flying out and explosions, but we just had to tone it down because it was almost too distracting for the stories. So yeah, I had a more dark and dangerous place. Making Bacon, another cool spot we all know. And this one, so this is the interior. We had so Cesar Martinez was a really kick-ass animation set designer. So he took a lot of my scratchy old designs and he made them really into cool things. And I love Cesar. He was great. He still is. I think he's out there somewhere still doing animation. Just more ideas for shape houses and stuff like that. Nighttime, I think that's Howley jumping from rooftop to rooftop from the pilot. And then somebody was talking about city maps. Yeah, so even though we never really show it, just for the writers and the artists and everything, the storyboard artists, we always try to figure out where is everything. So I drew this map of the city just to kind of give an idea of the polo field and the park, Making Bacon, the apartment. Where's there's the blinking light factory down there. And so, Robot Hills. I think Nessie had a wheel platform thing because she was more of a squid type of character. And she would sit in her little platform thing to get around. Yeah, there was. We named Gart was Gort, and you can't name Gort. Can't use that. It says original concept of, we were going to have Robot have a cool workshop in the top of the apartment, but then we ditched it because we had to you just have so much bandwidth with what you can actually how many sets you can have. It's just budget. If we had a second season, we probably would have gotten to some more elaborate lab or something like that. Then this was the lab without them. This is my concept for their apartment. That's kind of a BG. But here, let me show you some more. I found some more apartment concepts. So you also got to remember at this time, it was 08, 09. I had not gotten into using a Cintiq yet. I was just learning how when I did the pilot. So basically, this is just pencil and paper. So I was still doing a lot of my designs pencil and paper. I'd scan them in, I'd color them in Photoshop. And later I started to get much more proficient with the Cintiq. But that was another thing. I had to go through a big learning curve of getting really, into painting on the Cintiq. And nothing makes you learn something than having to get forced to do it because you have deadlines. Rough apartment turnarounds. This was, same thing. We were even thinking of a car for them, but we ditched the idea of the car. We liked them walking around better. This is the map again. Here's the bedroom concept. I think we stuck with most of this, except the clutter's always kind of expensive. So you got to be we had to make it not as cluttery. But so this is my color concept. Yeah, here's another one for the town, and there's some, Post-its of. Usually when I was talking to designers and everybody, I doodled on Post-its constantly. Here is the robot monster apartment concept with the shrink ray. Shrink ray, I know, you want to do chin-ups on those pipes. You can see that here is where we kind of cut it off for the pilot, and then we pop that wall out for a kitchen later. And this was kind of like again, another floor plan, just basically. Because you just got to figure out how all this stuff goes, and almost to a maddening point, especially with CG, because in CG, you're really building everything. It's almost like making a set. Let's see what we got here. Well, here we go. This is the pen and ink I did. So this is the robot portrait that's hanging in their apartment. So this was the one I drew, and then I scanned it and painted it. Here's a good stock drawing of Robot and Monster running with Marv. And whenever you're drawing Monster, he always has that line of action that's always like he's moving forward really fast. Same with Robot. Always just that line of action that gives him kind of that forward motion. I always thought running was a good way to have them together. Running. JD and Spitfire. It's kind of they're both happy, I guess. So this was this idea that they were always sitting on their couch watching the tube after a hard day at the blinking light factory. Yeah, Marv did have a dark personality. Again, here's just some experiments where I was just showing, kind of more about how we break this guy down. I think the original maquettes I made, his face was really high up. And so actually in the show, we brought it all down just so it was a little bit more. So if he's facing us, because if you look at this, if he was like that, his eyes would be kind of pointing up. So we had to kind of bring everything down a little bit, which worked fine because just, shrinking him down, bringing everything down, it still kept that big personality that if you look at this, his face is, the most expressive face, most expressive body. Marv came about because I always had this idea of a block being a pet and having it just do really nothing but say its name, Marv. And we came up with Marv because it was a combination of meow and arf, because we never wanted to peg him down as a cat or a dog. Oh, this was just a concept sheet. Remember, was it Fuzzy Slippers? And they were playing with all the toys up in the... So this was just there were so many times when we would, I'd read the premise for something and I'd immediately start sketching, even though we only had a premise. So, all right, let's see. We've got Robot and Monster. Let me get into some Ogo stuff. Yeah, these are the folders I had left. And so Ogo, you look and you talk about how stuff gets figured out. I know Curtis did a great job of marfing. So this is original Ogo, and you can see again how we kind of, at first it's this is the original version. This was some of Sam's sorting it out a little bit. And then we got into this idea of one, again, I had his face pretty high up in the original design, so we brought it down. And also, we like the slouchy personality, so I kind of accentuated the slouch. And then it also, look, it's kind of like it's a nice curve. He's kind of loopy, you know. And then the idea that he has, like, with the wheel, with this being flexible, then he can always have this kind of forward motion. He can always have this looseness about him that fit that kind of manic personality that he had. The way he could stretch in his arms and everything like that. At first the rocket wasn't going to work, but then we thought it was funny that Ogo had this really dangerous rocket. Ogo's the best. I always love Ogo. Perry. Perry was like a tertiary character until Maurice and came up with a voice for him, and we did it. Was he the happiest guy in the world? I can't remember what's the name of that episode. We did so many of them. Anyways, Perry ended up being a superstar. Here's another sheet where I was just figuring out what Ogo looks like. You know, a lot of times I would just sit and sketch out all the little details, because when you're building characters in CG, like this is like, how does that neck go into the head, and how does, you got to figure out every little detail. Ogo with his dream journal. Oh, here he is when he was having an allergic reaction to the bacon and bacon moss. We're trying to figure out what did his come on, get happy. That was it. What did his face look like? And we were trying to see how far we could push it in CG. This is the original when they were talking about the dream journal and how he had planned a whole day to spend with those guys. So I did, again, this one, I read the premise and I drew immediately. And, I had stacks of peg bar animation paper. So usually in my office, I would just grab whatever piece of paper was nearby. A lot of these, when you see some of these drawings, or when I have art, sometimes people ask, like, well, why is there phone numbers and other stuff in there? Because usually, sometimes when I had a little inspiration, I would grab whatever piece of paper was nearby. Like this one. Here's JD. There's a sketch of SpongeBob for no reason. Let's see. These were character turns. So when we started, so we got the green light for the show in January of 10. It's 10 years ago, man. Then what we did is they wanted to start production in April, but Josh and Jen and I were like, holy crap, we got so many scripts to write, we got so much to do, we want to get in there now. And they were like, okay, how about the first week of March? So it was just the three of us in our little offices in an area, and I was actually turning characters. I was doing character turns and getting things ready. Because until we didn't get a crew in until April, so we didn't start hiring the design team. There's some more buildings. Spitfire, figuring out Spitfire. She's such a great character. SpongeBob and Robot Monster. I know those SpongeBob guys; they're all very cool, but I don't know if they'd go for that. Spitfire. Oh, look, this was fun. How many of you remember the Bacon Moss episode? Oh, like here. So, I don't know why. My original sketch for Crazy Cousin Gizmo was on a Lev Krumholtz piece. Again, it's just that thing where I grabbed the closest piece of paper, and so it's like Lev Krumholtz, Crazy Cousin Gizmo, but then St. Crispy. So St. Crispy, half mechanical, half organic. And then, so this again, this is the kind of stuff. So this is what I would do, and I would hand this over to the character designer, who would then, really figure it out. Bacon Moss is an all holiday special. It's like for any holiday. So for instance, this is what I initially sketched out. Then this was the color, so I'd scan it in, do the color in Photoshop, and then usually this would be the thing I'd kick off the designers with. I did a lot of concepting, because I think during the first season of the show, you really have to set the tone and make sure that everyone's, collaborating. Nessie, side view. We gave her 6 tentacles because the animation company that we had was Technicolor in India, and they did an amazing job. Technicolor India is they got some of the best animators over there. I love them. I'm glad to be working with them again on Rugrats, and I worked with them on Boss Baby. I was when I was art directing Boss Baby back in business. We had them, and they're just top notch, and so that's why I always, they're just, to me, they're always an extension of the team. We're just an ocean apart. But basically, we had 8 tentacles at first, and they were like, that's way too many to animate. And even our storyboard artists were like, oh my God, what are we going to do with all these tentacles? So we said, how about 6? There we go. And then, of course, we were going to have an episode coming up where if we had done, we got a small pickup for season 2. Well, here, you know what we'll do? We're finished looking at the art right now. I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened to the show. Because the interesting thing is there's a lot of speculation about what happened to the show. And I've read all the theories online, and nobody knows. They're all wrong. See, the thing is what happens in business, and we'll talk about TV, that it's business just like everything else, is that there are times when something's just not working out corporately. So in other words, when we got there was a whole regime. The president of the studio was a fan of the show. She greenlit the show. By the time we were done with the show, they had an entire studio-wide regime change. New president, new people in New York. A lot of the executives in charge of production for the network were let go. And the main thing is when you have a regime change, the new people who come in, they really don't want anything to do with the old slate, no matter how good it is, no matter how bad it is. And so the show just got canceled. But what it was is we had done a full first season. In 2011, when we were still in production with season 1, they gave us a writing pickup in August of 2011 and said, we're going to order 14 more episodes constituting a second season. And so we were all stoked. We were ready. So we started to plan out season 2. And season 2 was going to include a whole 2-part special episode where Robot meets his father again, and he finds out his father was a blimp pirate and basically got kidnapped by the blimp pirates and eventually became captain of the blimp pirates. And so Robot goes away with him for a while to become his right-hand man with his father and son blimp pirates. And then what happens? He realizes it's just not for him. But Nessie flies away with Robot's father as king of the blimp pirates. And now she's queen of the blimp pirates. That was going to be the first episode. I don't remember what a lot of them were. But so what happened is they gave us this writing pickup that we started working on in earnest. That was in August. By the time Christmas came around, they said we might be canceling the second season order. We're not going to know until next January. So me and my partners knew this, but no one else knew this. And we decided to basically keep it under wraps, let everyone have a nice Christmas. Let's see what happens in the new year. So unfortunately, when we came back in March, they said we're not going to do the new 14 episodes, and that was it. So we knew that we weren't going to get a second season, and then they kept pushing back the release date. So I just knew something was afoot. And the thing is, though, like I said, a lot of times there's not, we like to think that there's like evil forces at work when things we don't like happen, or it's more Machiavellian or more dramatic. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's really just a corporate decision. It's a corporate decision. And, unfortunately, the thing you've been working on for 5 years, and I would say plus, because a lot of those ideas I'd had many years before, it just happens, Please let Bricklin and Robot. Yeah, so the problem is that there wasn't a big resounding explanation for it. It's one of those things that happens. And being in the business for 25 years, I've been in every iteration of that. I've had development deals canceled. I've had pilots canceled. I've had a pickup that we got the call the show was picked up, and within 24 hours they called back and said it was canceled. So I've been through every up and down and disappointment of this business, and even though it's disappointing, and it's just sometimes it's just business, and it's really boring. I know people were talking about that the show was canceled before it was released. It wasn't. We were in full production to finish the first season. Somebody I read had thought that the show was made like by a focus group because it was just so formulaic and cookie cutter. It's like, no, this is like dreamt up by, 3 people in the valley and me to start with. I read another thing that said that it was like, after, poor ratings. Well, we were canceled before we aired in August. First week in November, they canceled it. So we weren't even going to get a chance, and I knew it because the show was going to be released. The air date was going to be 2 weeks after Comic-Con, and we were going to Comic-Con, and they weren't even going to show. They weren't going to do a panel or anything. So I smelled a rat. I just knew something wasn't working out. I knew that we were not going to get a fair shake. So So unfortunately, there's no great explanation. It's just one of the things that happens. But the thing I'm glad about is, one, you can watch the show. I think you can watch the episodes on Amazon. You can order the DVD. And 2, I think the show turned out fantastic. I'm proud of the show. I mean, I know people who have a chance to do a show and they don't get to do the show they want. We got to do the show we wanted and more. So if anything, just to have had the one shot, did the show, the network, and that's the other thing too, is all during the process of making the show, the network was fully behind us. I had such a great creative time working with Nickelodeon on that. So now I don't want to run out of time, but I remember I was gonna show you something. So here's what I'm going to show you. So basically, like I said, that we started off the show. And we had all the episodes in the can. We had the 26 episodes were done. And we had a whole different opening with a whole different theme song. Have you ever seen that? No, you haven't. But are you going to see that now? Yes, you're going to. So here, let me see. Let me pull back a little bit. This is the original opening with the original theme song by Jeff Sudeikis and David Tabakaman. There you go. Original opening with original music. And I don't think any of you had ever seen that. I haven't seen that in maybe 7 years. So I was pleased to go. Yeah, because we had, with the network, they were making all of these. These were the DVDs that we got to review the shows when they were done. So, and then I was thinking, it's like, I thought, what about some other stuff? So now we saw a lot of this. So we saw a lot of the, look, one of the pirates that we're making for the Blimp Pirate episode, Crazy Cousin Gizmo design sheet. Oh yeah, Dame Lady Madam design sheet. Marf design sheet. It goes, here we go, Marf. Well, you know what? The song changed again. Like I said, by the time we hit this point in the show, it was under a lot of scrutiny and upheaval. Like I said, we were, things were not going well at the studio. So at the last minute, they wanted to change the song. And we were kind of, we do like the new song that they did. I wasn't crazy about the opening because we had one cut together that was great, but they put it out to a title house. So we were kind of like, not that hip to that idea. But at a certain point, you have no control. Punch Morley concept. Ogo concept, early work. Oh yeah, Ogo posture and pose. There they are, like first comp of them like standing in front of their yard. Oh yeah, ARPA. I remember ARPA. Old Ogo. Oh yeah, this apartment with the kitchen. You saw that one. These are just some a rich mechanical and a tween and a maintenance worker. Oh yeah, monster robot portrait. Bricklin is the pirate. There we go. The blimp pirate. These were going to be his two henchmen. We were actually talking with Bryan Cranston about doing Bricklin. I don't think he'd do it now, but back then, it was a long time ago. Uncle Cuffley. All right, so speaking of things that no one's seen, remember I said we did an animation test? So this is the animation test that we did to sell the pilot. Again, made in 10/23/09, long time ago. And let's see.
Hey, robot, you finished the shrinking ray.
That's right, monster.
Can I be your guinea pig?
Well, I'm sure not going to use a real guinea pig. It's too dangerous.
Sweet. I'm shrinking. I'm shaking.
It worked! An invention of mine finally worked! Now, hey, you didn't shrink.
Did too. Look how loose my pants are. Ooh.
There you go. That was the test we did. And it showed kind of like what the squash and stretch should be and everything like that. And so, anyways, I'm so glad that everyone showed up, hung out. It was really fun to talk to everyone about Robot Monster because, like I said, I get a lot of questions about it. And I've never really had a forum to talk to everyone about it. So it was really nice to do this today. And, maybe we'll do another one. But basically, if you have any more questions that I didn't get to, you can message me on Instagram. Gary, it was such a joy having you on the show, too. Gary Conrad, one of our fearless directors. Paige, good to see you. If you want to send questions, comments, I'd be glad to answer. Send them on Instagram, or you can go to my website, davepresslerart.com. Send me an email through there. Wonder where Crikey came from. He's one of the weirdest. Crikey was just, again, a bully, and then we just thought the accent was fun. I think Nolan North did the voice. I like a lot of the fan art that I see with Robot Monster. And so basically I'm so glad. Thank you guys for all tuning in. And so hopefully we'll do it again. Maybe I'll see if I can find something that no one else has seen. So, well, all right then. I got just a few seconds remaining. Ogo's backstory, he's the annoying friend. He's the annoying friend that you need in every sitcom. So, but this is really fun, and to see everyone, to talk to everyone. I don't know Jay Howell, but anyways, send questions. Love to talk to you. Take care. 7 seconds. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.